save it, but it isn't successful, so it rolls back the changes. I know it's kind of weird. You would think that if it didn't save it, it just wouldn't save it, and you wouldn't need to put in the rollback in there. But it's just sort of a safeguard in case anything actually did get changed. So there's that. Now check out what happens. Well, actually, here, let me do that with create too. So blanky equals artist.create name, and the exact same thing. It rolls back. While we're here, can anyone tell me what the difference is between doing artist.create and artist.new and then artist.save? That would actually be capital. Can anyone tell me what the difference is between those two different options? Yeah. That's exactly right. So these have the exact same outcome. The only difference is this one does it in 2 lines, create does it in 1. Dimitri?
I just had a question about the rollback.
Mm-hmm.
Does that have anything to do with like the ACID thing with databases and transactions that are being you got rollback or anything?
I have no idea. It might. I don't know.
Just remind me of that.
Yeah, that's cool. I always think Walmart's rolling back prices, but I don't think that's related. Okay, cool. So I just did .save.create. Check out what happens if I do the exact same thing, but I put an exclamation mark in here. So that's the only thing I'm changing. I'm just putting an exclamation mark in, and suddenly I get this thing. I get a big, huge error. Up here it still says name can't be blank. That's the same error we got before. And it still does begin and roll back. So this part looks exactly the same. Except now we get all of this garbage along with it. So this illustrates the difference between .create and .create with a bang, or .save and .save with a bang. So if I do blanky equals artist.new name, la-di-da, and then I do blanky.save, no problem. If I do blanky.save, now I get that thing. So the difference between these two things is that doing .save or .create, whatever, without a bang, the error fails silently. Whereas when you do it with a bang, it breaks your app. So when I say it fails silently, I mean the thing doesn't work, but the only indication of that is here in your console. And that's fine for us because we tend to look at this thing an awful lot. But that is no help at all to your user. They're going to have no idea that this thing didn't actually work. Whereas when you do it with a bang, then it, well, breaks your entire app. You get one of those like validation failed errors that we saw before, and one of those big red pages. So it breaks your app. So that's the difference between the two. Without a bang, it fails silently. With a bang, it's a fatal error. Fatal error meaning not that you die, but that your app breaks. Presumably not that you die, unless you have a really strict boss. But that your app breaks. So that's the difference between .save and .save bang and all of these things over here. They effectively do the exact same thing. The only difference is in what they do when they don't succeed. They throw the same errors, but with a bang it sort of throws the error more so. The error actually like stops everything, halts everything. Whereas without the bang, it just doesn't work, and that's it. It doesn't actually break anything. Yeah, it's considered good practice to use the bang. But that said, for the rest of this class, you're not going to see me use the bang at all. I'm going to be completely bang-less. Really, the bang is a lot more important not in Rails. It's a lot more important in Sinatra, where you don't have all this stuff helping you out. But yeah, Samir? Oh yeah, thank you for reminding me. So the question mark and the exclamation mark, this is important. They don't actually do anything. They're just characters, just like A, B, C, whatever. They're just characters. They're there as visual cues. That's their whole function, is to just be a visual cue. The question mark is a visual cue to you that this method is going to return either true or false. It's going to return a Boolean value. It's not going to return 42. It's not going to return an artist. It's just going to return true or false. That's what this question mark is used to mean. And as we saw before, .valid returns either true or false, so it's named appropriately. The exclamation mark indicates, well, it indicates danger. So we've seen before that that was used for, like, if you do down case with a bang, that means it's modifying the thing that you're downcasing. In this case, it means it's gonna like break stuff if it doesn't work. So that exclamation mark, it means danger. What that danger actually means could be a couple different things, and we've seen really only sort of 2 different situations so far of what that means. Does that answer your question? Cool. Other questions? But yeah, remember they don't actually do anything. I mean, they could have used the letter Q or whatever, but that just would have been kind of stupid. So instead they're using punctuation marks. All right, so so far we have gone over about 18 different ways that you can break your app, and ways you can, new and exciting ways you can break your app. And that's fine, but it still doesn't make for a very good user experience. So that's what we're going to talk about now, is what you actually do with all of these errors that we have made happen. So I'm going to show what a good artist controller would probably look like. It would probably look like this. I'm going to slack it out. And I'll put it up here. This is what a good create action would look like. And this is the Rails way to do it. This is like the professional way to do it, is in this syntax right here. So it's not using .create anymore. It's using .new, and then it's checking to see if the artist was able to be saved. If the artist was able to be saved, if it passed all the validations, then we'll do one thing. We'll say it was successfully created, and we'll go to that artist's show page. If it wasn't successfully created, then we're going to do this render new. Now, notice in here that there's nothing about actually handling the error messages. So this is where we have to put in the other part, that full messages thing I showed you before. So that would look something like this. Doesn't matter where in here you put it. I'll put it right there. There we go. So you're usually going to see these 2 things go hand in hand. Again, we could use Flash for this, but it's Railsier to not use Flash, to only use Flash for like good things, positive reinforcement. For negative reinforcement, you would use this artist.errors thing. And so the result would be something like this. I'm going to try to create a new artist, and there we go. Name can't be blank. So this is usually what it's going to look like. I got rid of the Billy Ray thing, so I'll make amends with him and actually put him in here. And now I should get Billy Ray Cyrus was successfully created. And there we go. So I have a question for you guys. It's a tough question. Why do I do redirect here and render here? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly right. So let me show you here. I'm going to do redirect to, let's see, new artist path. I think that's right. And then I'll go back here. Let me refresh this page. I submit. And then it just takes me back here. So that's still in here, but now @artist doesn't exist anymore. We went to a new request. So @artist no longer exists. That's why we use render here. Render doesn't redirect to a new page. It just says which HTML you should use for this particular request. I would say render doesn't go anywhere. Render instead looks for this particular view, this particular ERB file, and like copies it and then spits it back out. Redirect does go somewhere. Render doesn't go anywhere. Render pulls in a piece of HTML and spits it back out at you. Yeah. Yep. So questions about, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I could render anything I want in here. Like, I can render index. That'll be interesting. I'll do that. And then it should show me. This is probably going to fail miserably. Yeah, damn. Oh well, I should have seen that coming. But notice that the URL did change. Oh, that's embarrassing. Yeah. That's probably just because of an error. Well, it certainly should have stayed the same. I don't know. I'll just do it with something I know works. So if I do this, that's weird. I'll have to look into that. I don't actually know why this URL is changing, but I'll figure that out. To my mind, yeah, it should have just stayed on the exact same URL. Render is not an HTTP request. It's just as if you went in here and copied everything in there and then just sort of did, like, just sort of put it in there. See? Right. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? All right, so again, this is the right way to do it. If you want to be even righter about it, then you can tidy it up a little bit just by putting the notice in here like we saw before, and that does the exact same thing, just in one less line of code. Two different ways of writing the same thing. Actually, I kind of prefer the first way. I don't really like that way. I like that better. I like separating my things up. Cool. One thing I want to show you really quick that actually saves you a lot of trouble with all this stuff. I'm going to go back to what this looked like before. So artist.create. I'm going to install a gem called SimpleForm. Gem SimpleForm. I'm going to bundle install it. What this thing is going to do is it's going to take care of all of this error validating and stuff for us. So if I do bundle install, it should install. All right, and then in here, this code is in the lesson plan. You don't need to do it right now. You can experiment with it later. We're not expecting you to use this. It's just a kind of a cool thing that exists if you want it. All right, so I got rid of pretty much everything in here, and I'm just doing SimpleForm for @artist. And then, actually I lied. It actually look like this. Okay, cool. So this is sort of what it was before, just without any flash. There's no @artist.errors, etc. So here's that. I pull the form back up. Yeah. Huh. I don't know why that's not working. Okay, well, not worth it, I guess. Basically, it just puts in what SimpleForm does. My bundle install wasn't taking for some reason, I guess. But what it does is it just takes, like if the name fails a validation, then it's going to put the error message for name right underneath the name field. So instead of having all of your errors like up in one little chunk at the top of the page, it just puts the error right underneath that particular field. It does other things as well. It's just sort of like a handy little gem. But again, we're not expecting you guys to use it. It's just there if you want it. Huh, why that didn't work? That's strange. Oh well. Oh yeah, because it's a gem. Oh, thank you. You are a genius. Yeah, you passed the test. Thank you. Whenever you install a gem, you have to restart the server. QuickTime will make it take 5 years, but eventually it'll work. Yeah. There we go. And then, oh, cool. It looks like it puts a little star there too, if it has a validation. So I'll try to create an artist. Ooh, wow, that's pretty neat. Let me try to do something where it's not just required. Let me try validates name, exclusion, Bob. Moment of truth. Yeah, is reserved. Wow, that looks terrible. But with proper styling, it can be really handy. Fantastic. All right, let's break until 4:25, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap up with fancier ways of handling all these errors. No, you don't need simple form. It's there if you want to use it, but we're not expecting you to.